Hello, my name is Peter and welcome to another video. Today I'm going to be showing you some of the banana plants that I have outside. Some of them I've planted in the ground and some are in containers. But yeah, I'm going to show you all the ones I've got outside at the moment so far. So this is my Musa Basjoo that I showed a couple of videos ago, and I uncovered it from its winter protection back in March. So as you can see, it has put out a few new leaves. I think there's about 4 leaves so far, and then it's also put out 4 pups as well at the bottom. 3 of them are quite a good size so far and been growing quite fast, and then there's a 4th smaller pup here at the bottom, which has been growing a little bit slower. I've also noticed there is another pup that's starting to develop underneath the compost I added around. But yeah, this the first leaf that came out got very badly shredded in the winds that we had. There's some strong storms back in spring. Some of the other leaves have been shredded in the wind as well. The very first one did get a little bit of frost damage as well. Next to the Musa Basjoo I have a Manzano banana. This is also known as the apple banana. It did start to push out this leaf a few weeks ago, but it's been very slow progressing with the growth on this new leaf. And you can see it looks like it's sort of burnt. Perhaps it's some sunburn on the top. But on the other side it still looks quite green, so I'm hoping it's going to be okay when it warms up a little bit more. I'm hoping it'll start to push out a bit more. So Manzano is supposed to have fairly good cold tolerance. I'm just hoping it'll grow well in our cool summers. But yeah, bit of an experiment really. Next to it I have a Dwarf Orinoco banana, which I also planted back at the beginning of May. So the Manzano and the Dwarf Orinoco were planted at the beginning of May. This Dwarf Orinoco has pushed out 1 leaf since I planted it, which has also been a bit of sun damage to it already. And there was a leaf on it when I planted it, but it was almost dead anyway, and then I ended up cutting it off because it was completely dried up. The 1 leaf it has now has been quite fragile. I'm hoping the next leaves that come out will look a lot better. Next to it I did plant this Rajapuri banana, which I had outside in a container for a few weeks, and I only planted it about a week or so ago. It looks like it's doing okay. It started to push out a 4th leaf. This plant was a lot bigger last year, but it died back a bit over winter. But I managed to get it to re-sprout and re-root, and so since then it's pushed out a few new leaves. And since I filmed this the other day, the leaf that's coming out has started to open, so it seems to be doing okay now. So that's all the bananas I have in ground at the moment. I'm planning to plant a few more in other areas of the garden in the next few weeks. I'll keep you updated on the progress of these bananas that I planted in the ground, and any others that I decide to plant as well. So on my patio area I have some bananas in pots, and this one here is another Dwarf Orinoco. This is about the same size, and I got it from the same place as the other one that I planted in ground. This one I've left in a container for now. I might keep this one in a container and just put it in a larger pot in a few weeks. It's also started to push out a new leaf. Took a little bit longer to push this one out, but it seems to be looking quite healthy now. So next to the Dwarf Orinoco, I have another Manzano in the container. This is about the same size as the other Manzano I have in the ground. It's also been trying to push a new leaf out, but it seems to have been stuck, not really pushed anymore, like the one I had in ground. Not really sure why they're not growing. Unlike the Dwarf Orinoco, it seems to have carried on growing. Over here I have a Dwarf Brazilian. This Dwarf Brazilian is one of the two plants that I have. The other one I've left inside. And this one I've put outside for a few weeks now, just to sort of see how it grows outside. It has got a bit of sun damage to some of the leaves, especially the older ones. You can see some of the on the edges in particular, it's got quite a lot of burn. But it has started to push a new leaf out in the last couple of days. I noticed in the centre there's a new leaf starting to emerge, so it does seem to be growing again now. The one inside is, which I'll show in a separate update, seems to be growing a little bit faster, which is not a surprise because it is a lot cooler outside. This is a Musa Sikkimensis that I grew from a pre-germinated seed that I bought. I've had some issues with it due to spider mite damage and things, but I've managed to get it to come back again, and I'm going to try growing this outside this summer. So here I have a Dwarf Namwah. From what I've read, these are not quite as tolerant of cool weather or cool summers, so I'm kind of growing this outside as more of an experiment. But yeah, it's inside it grew these nice quite big leaves, and I'm going to continue to grow this outside this summer in a container. I'm not going to plant this one in the ground, I don't think. It's going to need a larger container soon. So here I have two Ensete Ventricosum Maurelii bananas. They're, well, closely related to banana. It's actually a different genus, but these I got in autumn last year, and they died back over winter, but I managed to get them to regrow roots. As you can see, they've started to grow quite nicely outside now. I need to repot them into bigger containers soon. Over here I have a tall Namwah. This is a fairly new plant. I only got it recently, and it started to push a new leaf out. It does look a little bit rotten around it, so I'm not sure if I'm going to have to cut it back a bit. So this is a type of plantain, a cooking banana. It's actually a dwarf variety. I don't know too much about it specifically, but it's called Curare Enano. I think this variety originates from Central America. Next to it I have another Dwarf Orinoco. I got this one as a backup plant. I'm going to probably grow this one in a container rather than in the ground. And we'll see how large it gets in a container. Obviously it'll need to be a much bigger pot than the one it's in at the minute. So this is a Musa Yunnanensis. It's a wild seeded banana. So this one won't produce edible fruits, or at least it'll be very seedy. I'm hoping that because it comes from a relatively high elevation, it may survive quite well outside here. Although from what I've seen, it's not supposed to be quite as cold tolerant as the Musa Basjoo. So I also have a second Musa Yunnanensis, and this one actually already had a pup when I got it. So I'm going to leave them a little bit until it gets a bit bigger, and then I can separate them. Next to it I have a Musa Jamesonii banana. Again, I don't know too much about it other than that it's a wild species of banana that comes from a high-ish altitude area. I also have this Musa Chunii, which has a couple of pups already as well. Again, I don't know too much about it, although I think this is a fairly dwarf size plant. I don't think it gets more than about 2 meters or something like that before it flowers. So I got some of these wild bananas as a bit of an experiment because I wanted something else to plant in the garden that would produce some nice foliage as an ornamental, but a bit of a different look to the Musa Basjoo. Over here I have a Musella Lasiocarpa. It's closely related to the bananas. It produces a ornamental yellow flower and doesn't get more than about a metre and a half. So yeah, I've got another one of these indoors, but I've decided to put one outside. Next to it I have this Musa Orinoco. So this is a tall variety of the Orinoco. So I've got several dwarf Orinocos, but this is the only tall Orinoco that I have. As far as I'm aware, it's exactly the same other than the height of the plant. As you can see, it started to push out a new leaf since I put it outside about a week or so ago. I think I'm going to plant this one in the ground as well, as it'll probably be too big to grow inside a container. So that's all for today. Thank you all for watching, and I'll keep you updated on the progress of these plants. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.